Self-discovery on the way. Reflect, reset, be your best. Join the quiz, it's not a test. Feel the light, embrace the dawn. Empowerment is going strong. Daily lesson quiz, hooray! What did we learn today? Join the fun, let's all play. Reflect, reset, rise today. Morning gods, we shine so bright. Wisdom flowing, pure insight. Soars through God's words, they lift us high. New beginnings reach the sky. Every moment, take it in. Start anew, let's begin. From the dawn to the night, together we ignite. Daily lesson quiz, hooray! What did we learn today? Join the fun, let's all play. Reflect, reset, rise today.
Well, good evening, and welcome to the evening edition of First Light Reflections, your weekday guide to self-discovery and empowerment, fam, where each sunset now brings us a chance to pause, reflect, deeply reset, and intentionally step forward in becoming the best version of ourselves. Glad to see you made it back with us. How was the day, fam? How was the day? Let's see. Let me move some things out of the way here. Good evening, Michelle. Good evening, saying, how did the day go for everyone? How was it? Tell me about it. I have my tea. I'm ready to go. Before we get into it, this afternoon, before we dive in, and a special welcome again to everyone that's joining us live, and also those catching us on the replay. What we are doing today, we are revisiting. Today is recap day. You remember, if you were with me on January 1st, 2025, we went through a lesson series called Location, Redefining Our Space. Give me a hands up or give me a one if you were on that live stream, or if you had the chance to go back today and maybe get a recap to be like, wait a minute, I don't know what Tora was talking about. I got to go back and rewatch this. Who remembers that one? Hey, Cross, how's it going? Who remembers the broadcast from January 1st, 2025 that was titled Location? What's going on, 5430? Let me tell y'all, 5430, she outdid herself. Now, tomorrow is our 1 year anniversary, be 1 year. 1 year of First Light Reflections of our anniversary show tomorrow. So I am looking forward to that. But of course, 5430 said, I got to send you something. So look at this beautiful book that she sent to me. And she knows I love me some books. This is such a nice leather on it. Jesus Calling is a morning and evening devotional. My dear friend, I love you. I love you to life, my friend. And I really love this book. Yes, really, I'm telling it. Why? Because I can. I control this go live button and all this stuff in here. I'm redefining my space and I can do what I want inside of it. Family, let's get into it. Can you believe 90 days into 2025? You see how fast that went? Do you see how fast that went? And I just have one question for you this evening. Where are you now? In light of our lesson that we went over on January 1st, 2025, the first day of the first quarter of the year. Now, tomorrow will start the first day of the second quarter of the year. The question is, where are you now? Now, wait a minute. Don't answer too quickly. I'm not just talking about your zip code, No, not talking about the zip code. I'm asking about your emotional, your spiritual, and your relational GPS. Where are you now? We're measuring from where we started in Q1 Now we're getting ready to go into Q2. Those things that you put down on the list when we went through it, we're going to look at how did we define our spaces, right? And this isn't about shame. This isn't about, blame, guilt, or I didn't get this done. I'm not as far as we want to be. This is walking through to see what things we need to switch up and move around so we can hit those goals that we want to hit by the end of the second quarter. Looking at, are you closer to the purpose that you declared on New Year's Day? Or have you felt a little stuck in the same space? Say, man, I really wanted to move the needle, but there was this, there was this, there was this. Do you feel stuck? And we kicked off this year with the powerful truth of location changes everything. And today, we're not starting over. We're just doing a check-in. That's what we're doing. And so this is the moment to look back, to reflect deeply, and to intentionally decide how we're going to move forward into the next quarter. So grab your journals, your note-taking devices, whatever it may be, and let's just walk this thing out together, family. Are y'all ready? Ready to walk this together. And let's take a moment first to remember, what we declared on what the world, calls New Year's Day, January the 1st, 2025. Let's take a moment to look back, a quick recap of that lesson that we did. We talked about location matters. We began by acknowledging that powerful truth, first of all. Your location either empowers you or it imprisons you. Not just physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. Remembering transformation isn't about waiting to be rescued. It's about taking ownership and saying, you know what, I'm going to shift this environment and I'm going to do it intentionally. Walls become homes when peace enters, right? Routines become meaningful once we've discovered what our purpose is. And everything changes when we invite God into that space. The second thing that we looked at in that lesson was redefine your space. I heavily emphasize that you don't have to physically move to experience profound change. And I was having a conversation with a good friend last week, and we were talking about how people move from place to place to place, and they still seem to have the same troubles, the same misery, the same depression. Nothing changes. The only thing that they did was move from one state, one city to another, but didn't do any healing in between and brought the same problems with them. So, it's really important to understand that you don't have to physically move to experience profound change. Your home might feel heavy. Your job may be feeling mundane or even relationship strain. Yet, transformation starts, though, exactly where you are, exactly where we are at this moment, by bringing prayer intentionally and genuine connection into our everyday spaces, right? We begin to create opportunities for powerful shifts to be able to happen. The third thing that we looked at was bring purpose to the space. We went really deep into Exodus 3. Who remembers that? When we went into that in Exodus 3, where Moses stood on ordinary ground and God declared, what did God tell him to do, fam? Take off your sandals. The place that you stand is holy. And if you remember in that lesson, we determined, that the place didn't look special. Yet God's presence is what transformed it completely. Everyone else that had walked through those mountains looking for their lost sheep or whatever they were doing up there, it was just regular ground. But once God entered into that presence, we determined in that lesson, wait a minute, this is holy ground. So your spaces, your home, your office, even your daily habits carry that same hidden potential. And when we intentionally invite God's presence into our surroundings, ordinary moments begin to change. They go from being just ordinary to extraordinary when we intentionally invite God's presence in. The next thing that we looked at in that lesson is practical steps. Does anybody remember any of the steps that we went through? Practical steps for transformation. I'll pause here for a second. Does anyone happen to remember one of the practical steps that we went through? Let's see. Anyone? Because real change requires practical action, and we laid out clear steps to walk out transformation daily. All right? Vanessa says acknowledge, right? Starting our day with intentional prayer was one of the steps that we went through. Speaking life and scripture affirmations consistently in our spaces. Acting purposefully with clear intention, not just, throwing spaghetti at the wall, as they say, to see what sticks. We looked at acting purposefully, moving with clear intention, surrounding ourselves with people who inspire us, who encourage us to grow. And then we looked at committing to consistency and daily discipline. See, transformation isn't instant. It's cultivated day by day by day. But to make that intentional choice to say, you know what, it's starting today. I'm starting today. And from this day forward, I'm going to cultivate something different. And in one of the texts that we had, we talked about tilling the ground, cultivating the land that we have. We aren't able to grow if we don't get out and cultivate the land. So we have to do that same thing with ourselves. So each time that we choose alignment over autopilot, that shifts us into being able to redefine our space. We then looked at the call to action for 2025. And we ended with a powerful declaration. And that declaration was 2025 won't change me. I choose to change me. Does anyone remember that? And today, that same choice is still on the table. Today, that choice remains yours. If your spaces still feel unchanged, guess what? It's not too late to take ownership and create those shifts. Prayers are with you, Tora, and overall, I appreciate it, Michelle. You carry the authority to speak life, bring peace, and intentionally transform your environment into sacred ground. So this is the time to step forward boldly. Guess what? The year is still yours. There is still time, family. Right now, it's testimony and growth check-in time. Where have you seen growth? Where have you seen growth? Just put a few of the things in the chat. Where have you seen growth since the beginning? Since the beginning. Michelle says, have a beautiful, blessed evening. See you all next month. See you next month, Michelle. Where have you seen growth, family? Since we've been on this journey, that's what you want to reflect back and look upon. What part of the message deeply resonated with you since January 1st and moved you towards that change, right? Put the emoji in the chat there if you felt God shift your space during this time over in this first quarter. If you've sat and you felt a shift, you felt a difference, you've seen the growth and the progress. That's what we're looking at. And what I want you to do is just reflect honestly. Reflect honestly during this time, asking, have you prayed intentionally over your home this year? And if so, what shifted? What's the difference? Because we often count these as small things, right? But this is part of the growth process, doing these types of things intentionally. Intentionally praying over your home. And if so, what has shifted? Have you approached your work differently? Do you find that you're more focused? Maybe more intentional? Or have you forgiven or worked on rebuilding relationships? That was a big part of what we went over in that first lesson. What habits have you shifted to create that sacred space? What habits? And then remember, progress, family, even quiet progress is still worth celebrating. Sometimes, like I said, we take the small things, the small steps, the small bits of growth that we've seen, and we discount those because we aren't all the way where we wanted to be. But even small progress, quiet progress is worth celebrating. And before we move on, right? Let's stop here and take a moment to lock this in, because right now We're not just reflecting, we're recognizing and looking back over the last 90 days to see, how have I grown? Where have I moved? Where do I still need to improve? What area do I need to focus on for this next quarter? And you're not just remembering, right? You're taking charge and saying, you know what? I'm going to reclaim this time that I have today. Now, I can't go back to tomorrow, but the remaining time that I have starting from today going forward, I'm going to take charge of it. And every time you answer one of the questions, like the ones that we just walked through, you're rewriting your relationship with your space, with your habits, and your God-given God-given authority, family. Now think about it. If this much growth has already taken place, right? When you measure this out, if this much growth has already taken place in root in just 90 days, what's possible? What is possible if you stay consistent for the next 90? What's possible if you just stay consistent for the next 90 days? What would your home feel like if peace wasn't just a visitor, but if peace became a permanent resident? These are questions to ask yourself. What would your work days look like if purpose became your default setting? Because even if we say, this job drives me crazy, this happens, this, no. Find the purpose in it. Is it paying your bills? Is it paying that car note? Is it paying that mortgage? Is it putting food on your table? Right? It's doing something. It's serving a purpose. You have to find that purpose in it, or use it to help move you towards the purpose that you're working towards. Delisa says, I've got my work, put in my notebook one place, prayed about, and committed it to God, being more intentional in work and relationships. Right? Putting in the work. So these are questions to go back through. What would the workday look like if purpose became the default setting? And what would shift in your relationships if you started showing up from a place of healing as opposed to hurt? Ooh, that's a tough question there. What if we showed up in everything that we did from a place of healing instead of a place of hurt? What if we showed up from a place of abundance, with a mindset of abundance and not lack? What if we showed up from a place of courage and confidence, because we know what God's promises say, instead of anxiety, worry, and doubt? What if we showed up from that place of courage? And see, when we go over these, don't just look at these as hypotheticals, family. These are previews. These are snapshots of what is already forming beneath the surface if you just continue to surrender and put in the work. But here's the key. Here's the key. As Vanessa said, what you don't honor won't grow. What you aren't willing to acknowledge, what you aren't willing to confront, will not grow. So if you've seen the smallest flicker of transformation today, this is the time to celebrate it. Speak life into it. Protect it like it's sacred. Why? Because it is. If it is, right? So let's make that commitment to continue growing. Drop that flower pot or a growing emoji or let's keep growing in the chat if you're committed to say, okay, I've made it this far. I'm going to continue to move forward. I'm not going to stop and go backwards. I'm not going to stop and fall into that slump of, I'll pick it up when I can. What do you say, fam? For our Q2 check-in, are you committed to continue growing and continue moving the needle forward, right? And let's take a quick look back at where we started at. Let's return back to Exodus 3:5, where God tells Moses clearly, take off your sandals, for the place you're standing is holy ground. Take off your sandals. Now, think deeply now about your own life. Just run it through. Think about it. Maybe your surroundings feel anything but holy. Perhaps maybe your home is more cluttered than you want it to be. Your job feels draining. Or maybe even your relationships feel strained. Maybe internally you feel overwhelmed and chaotic, and you just struggle to see the potential in your current situation. But listen carefully. The message within this passage: holiness isn't dependent on your surroundings being perfect. Look where Moses was. It depends on entirely on who you invite into that space. The cluttered room that you've been avoiding holds potential for peace if you invite God into that space. The stressful office can become a place of purpose if you just pause to acknowledge God's presence. Even, even your tired and anxious heart, guess what? It's also sacred ground because God meets each of us exactly where we are. And right now, whatever the space is, God whispers clearly and lovingly, just as he always does, saying that your space is sacred not because it looks or feels perfect, but because I am here with you. That's what we often forget. So the question today isn't whether your space can become sacred. You have to realize that it already is and treat it as such. So then the real question is, how will you choose to honor that sacred ground today? Will you speak life and gratitude in your home, even in its messiness? Even in the messiness. Will you speak purpose into your workplace despite its challenges? Will you speak purpose into it? Will you pause and invite God's presence into your overwhelmed heart, your anxious heart, your doubting heart, knowing that he's already there, just patiently waiting to sit with you in that space and transform it? Now, this moment, this space right here, where you stand, is the time when you take your sandals off and recognize it's already holy. You just have to see it as such. And before we move into the challenge, right, it's important that we go over and understand that there's a shift that happens, not when circumstances change, but it's when we change, family. When your mind stops rehearsing where you've been, but focuses on envisioning where you're about to go, the goals that you're going to accomplish, those marks that you're going to hit. Right? You've seen glimpses. You felt the tug. You've heard that still, undeniable whisper pulling you towards more and more and more. And deep down, you already know this isn't just about rearranging furniture. This is about rearranging our focus. It's in the way that your spirit quiets when you feel peace come in. The way that clarity finds you in that moment of stillness, in that time of, you just have such a clarity, a clearness. You're like, man, your thoughts are coming, the divine downloads. Everything is starting to come together. The way you walk into a space and without saying a word, it's almost as the whole room, the atmosphere bends to the authority that you carry. Why is that? It's because you're aligned with your purpose and you know that you're walking with God. You know, you feel it. So here's the truth. Nothing around you has to change before everything within you does. That's what it's going to take. And once the internal shifts, the external has no choice but to follow. Automatically, naturally, powerfully, God-given. And if you could fast forward 3 months ahead to the end of the second quarter, that'll be April, wait a minute, hold on. April, May, and June, right? If you could fast forward 3 months and stand in the results of the choice that you make today, what would you do differently right now? Can anyone share? Does anyone have anything that they can share? If you could fast forward, if you were able to see the results from a choice that you make today, 3 months down the road, what would you do differently right now, in this moment, in this time, to make that change? Because this moment right here, ending quarter 1, right? If you break down the year into 12 weeks, 12 weeks, right? This is the doorway. This is the doorway. And the future is already listening to the words that you're speaking. The future, the eternal, already knows. And see, your space is already responding to the energy that you bring into it and that you allow to be brought into it as well. And guess what, though? The beauty of this is God, he's not waiting for a perfect setup. He's just waiting for a willing participant. So take that breath. Anchor yourself in God's promises, right? And just know that you're not just checking in. You're here today to say, you know what? I'm going to level up. When we come back and we revisit again at the end of Q2, I'm going to be at the level up. Leveling up, everything around you changing, how you show up in it, how you move in this second quarter. All right, so let's look at our challenge. Here's the practical challenge for you. Hey, what's going on, Florence? So glad to see you. Here's the challenge. Choose just one space to intentionally transform, whether it's a corner, whether it's a whole room, no matter whether it's a clock, whatever it is. Choose one space to intentionally transform. Pray boldly. Speak life intentionally. Clean, organize, purposefully. And declare that space as sacred. That's your space. And watch what unfolds when you partner intentionally with God for that space. Remember, family, you're not stuck. You're planted. And what's planted grows with intention, consistency, and care. Right? Find that space. Recommit clearly to your vision today. We've heard it. Write the vision. Make it plain. Redefine it and be intentional about it. Stay the course and you will see the fruit of your labor. Stay the course. Partner purposefully with God. Right? And if you haven't already, grab the free checklist to support this journey. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Do you want the free checklist? Just let me know. Let me know. Do you want the checklist? You say, what checklist? I didn't know about checklists. Put together a nice checklist for you. Let's take a look at it here. Got it uploaded. It's called Redefine Your Space Checklist. And it goes through why redefining your space matter, how to use this checklist effectively, the spiritual benefits of a sacred space, practical benefits, encouragement for you on your journey, and even broke it down, creating your sacred space. It's a nice detailed PDF for you. And guess what? It's free for you to download. So I will put the link in the description under here as well when we're done. But also there's the scan code for it if you want to grab that. So, and hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone. Discuss it in your groups, because this is where shift becomes strategy. This is where decision becomes discipline. This is where your declaration becomes daily at this point. So we make the intention and say, you know what? I'm going to move with intention. I'm going to walk in alignment, and I'm going to keep turning everyday spaces into sacred ground, because I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to give up. We're just getting started. So we thank you. You know, we just have to be so thankful to the Father that He meets us exactly where we are. He helps us to see clearly our spaces as He sees them. How does He see our spaces? He sees them full of potential, full of purpose. And guess what? also full of your presence. He'll bring peace, he'll bring clarity and life into every area that we surrender unto him. So this next quarter, family, let this next quarter overflow with your presence being spent in God's presence. Spend that time in God's presence in purpose. That's how we want to spend it. So if this recap has resonated with you in any type of way, be sure and share it with someone. Share the checklist with someone who needs this reminder. If you want to go deeper, check out the Prayer Watch ebook. The link is also in the description. Or you can join us weekdays at 5:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Yes, you can. That is the time when we come together each morning. So, family, I do pray that this has been helpful for you. This has been some encouragement as we went back and revisited what we went over in that first quarter on January 1st of 2025. Let's make this next quarter, when we look back, another, again, I'm still baffled. Look how quickly that went by. When we look back 90 days from now, if God's grace and mercy keeps us 90 days ahead, where will you be? How will you have redefined that space? Will you have moved closer and honed in the focus for those goals? Will you have at least made the space to allow clarity to come in? But just take that one space. And if you don't do well, in big space, narrow it down to just a corner. Like my closet that's upstairs. It has a window in there at the very back of it. It's the perfect little nook to be able to look out over the trees, over at the park and everything across the street. It's a nice place just to be able to sit sometimes in quiet. Find that space, family. Find that space. Walk in it. Set your intentions. And I encourage you, download that checklist. Share it with a friend. Share it with a coworker. Share it with, maybe your women's group, at the church or wherever you go. Share that with someone. But the thing that I really want you to do is keep walking, keep growing, and keep turning those ordinary spaces into sacred ground. No matter what, let there be nothing no one can do or say to convince you otherwise. All right, family? Remember, I love you. I truly, truly do. And 2025 is still your year. We're just at the end of the first quarter. And if you're planning on joining us tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. Central Standard Time for our 1-year anniversary, coming together at First Light Reflections. Look at God. God be praised. Consistency, dedication. Boy, what a time we're going to have tomorrow. All right, family. I'm not going to hold y'all. This is our prayer watch time. Does anybody remember this watch? What the title of this watch is, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.? Anybody remember before I pop out? This is a time to sit in reflection. Reflect back over the day. Measure, and say, well, I didn't pause as much as I wanted to there, but I'm working on it, right? This is that prayer watch that's for that time, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The watch of reflection and realignment. So go out there, family. Redefine those spaces. Be sure, and I will also go ahead and put the, come on, coach, get your head in the game. I will put the link for the free checklist, for the Redefining Your Spaces checklist. I will put that link. I will actually pin it down in the description under the video, and then I will also put the link for it so that you can go and grab it. Redefining your space. All right, family. Until next time, you know what it is. Walk good, do good, be good. Tornado, I'm out. I love y'all. I truly, truly do. All right? Oh, and as my friends in Grenada say when we part, me gone.
Wake up to the sunrise glow. First light reflections, here we go. Torrent uses God's wisdom to guide us every day. Self-discovery on the way. Reflect, reset, be your best. Join the quiz, it's not a test. Feel the